There we go.
And there you
There
are.
it goes. Yay!
Oh, that was just us doing the MAGFest thing. Come on. We have another chair. Over there.
There and here.
Yeah, we got multiple chairs. Everybody clap for Sam.
I don't know how we're gonna do this.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I know
If we all scoot in.
Which one?
All right, sick.
See, what you're supposed to do is just put all your friends on the panel, and then you all get badges and have fun. So, all right. Without further ado, let's do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Getting a Job in the Gaming Industry. If that's what you're here for, congratulations, you made it. You found the room. If that's not what you're here for, feel free to stay anyways. And if you enjoy this panel, please give it 5 stars. If you don't enjoy this panel, tell your friends, and hopefully they'll give it 5 stars. So. We're going to dive in just a second, but first I want you to know who you're going to be listening to on this panel. We're going to have a great time. And also, in the back, if for some reason one of our mics goes out and you can't hear us, just literally raise your hand and wave it, and we'll talk a little bit more directly into it. When we get into, like, talking panel flow state, sometimes we like hang the mic down here, and I can project pretty well, but sometimes other people don't like to. So, all right, so without further ado, Ben, tell them who you are.
I'm Ben Premack. I'm a lawyer, but I'm a cool lawyer.
That's my line.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it. Ben's a cool lawyer.
I'm Sam. I'm a client, but I'm a cool client. There you go.
How do we follow up with that?
You just got to do the whole way down. No, actually, so my name is Sam. I am a Twitch ambassador, as well as I work with Woody Warrior Project as your live stream gaming and fundraising manager. Your turn.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
with
like
mics. We'll go ahead. Cool.
Hey, my name is Sheena Perez, also known as AMG Sheena. I run a game studio called Albino Moose Games, who brought you the game Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. And I am also a better client.
It's true. It's true. I accept.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Samples. I am a professor at BCU of art in the gaming industry, sci-fi and fantasy illustration, also senior portfolio, and I help students build their portfolio and reach out to gaming companies to work in the industry. I also helped to found the IGA Central Virginia.
Yeah.
We love the IGDA.
Yes, indeed. And my name is Andy Lunique, aka Chef Andy. I am the director of creative programs at Bungie. That's Destiny and Marathon. And I've worked in games for 12 years now. So yeah, I worked on games like Walking Dead, Gears of War, Halo 5, I think Sifu, and I'm starting to lose count of. Oh, Bloodborne, that was a thing. And so it's been.
We got some fans.
It's been a while, and I'm starting to lose track of time. So that's it.
And my name's Noah Downs, a.k.a. my lawyer friend. I'm a lawyer, but I am a cool lawyer, and I'm the first one that said it. I am a partner at Premack Rogers Downs, which is new this year, by the way. That's like 10 days old. And in addition, I co-founded a Spotify-like player for Twitch called Pretzel, and co-founded a music label called 99 Lives. We exited those a couple years ago successfully, which was very cool. And I like to help people find jobs because having a job is great. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of talk generally up here about how you can get a job in the game industry, some of the niches you can get into, what are the skills you're going to want to have, that kind of thing. You know, kind of talking a little bit about where we come from, and hopefully that will graft onto you. However, we are going to leave about 20 minutes at the end for questions. So if you have a question, and you think of a question while we're mid-talking, pull out that computer in your pocket and write it down. That way you can ask it at the end. We'll make sure to get to it. Okay? Cool? Cool. All right. Sounds great. Good positive feedback in the front. I like it. So, hey, everybody. It's really hard to get a job in the games industry at times. It's been kind of a tough year, and just kind of to address the elephant in the room, 2023 was a really rough year for layoffs in the game industry, meaning that it's harder than ever to get a job and hold on to it in the game industry. So first of all, when you are looking to apply to jobs in the games industry, the first thing I think everyone here is going to want to know is where can you find them, and how do you locate those kinds of jobs? Great answers, guys.
Well,
Cool.
do you want us to go
Just
and
dive in it.
I'll
Yeah,
dive in,
whatever
okay.
you want to do.
You hate to jump in ahead of time. Please.
Oh, me first?
Yes, you were about to go there. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Great start.
Yeah. I will go first. Here we go. I think something to keep in mind is like, yes, it's very difficult to get a job in the gaming industry at the moment. All of the layoffs have been devastating for many people that I know and many people everywhere. And not just in the US, obviously, like worldwide, but there will be, ebbs and flows. So it's not going to be down here forever. This is a very infantile industry, I would say. Like, I mean, it's
on the
still
come up.
growing. Yes, it's still growing. There's more interest and more people who play games than ever before. And so I think, keeping in mind it is still very hopeful for the future. I mean, all those people who lost their jobs are going to start making their own games at home, getting together with other professionals who lost their jobs and creating their own studios. And like, there will be a renaissance. It will come back up, and then the cycle will start again. So, not that it will never happen again. Like, there will be, I'm
Ebbs
sure
and flows.
times like this. But just keeping that in mind, it won't be down here at rock bottom forever.
It's a good reminder. It gets really easy to feel the doom and gloom, especially after, if you've been a person who survived a layoff and you have that survivor's guilt, you start to ask yourself what's happening, what will happen. But I agree with Kat. It's important to make sure that you recognize that this is a now problem, not a forever problem. So addressing the fact that those layoffs have occurred means that there's new opportunity on the horizon. We had seen this back in 2009. And we're going to see it again in the future, but for now, we're seeing the results of folks who have made a lot of poor decisions. This is not just a COVID problem. This is projects that never got off the ground 5-6 years ago, games that didn't get funded. A lot of those layoffs have to do with projects that you've never even heard of. So when you think about it from that perspective, you have to recognize that positioning yourself as best you can to be able to jump on opportunities as they come, because they will start to flood the industry. That is the first way I say to start looking for work. To speak practically to it, LinkedIn has been so far the best resource anyone that's been hiring has been utilizing. The recruiters, as well as folks who are looking for short-term contracts, have all been focused on LinkedIn. So make sure that it's as buttoned up as you possibly can make it. Connect, speak to folks, ask questions. Be bullish in asking your questions. There are folks who've never worked a day in the industry that I will answer LinkedIn questions for, as long as you respect their time. With that said, I would say getting with the recruiter as soon as possible is a major advantage. The fact of the matter is they know that there's going to be ranges of skill that they can find candidates for, and they find themselves struggling to find candidates that fit certain skill sets. So making sure you're aligned with multiple recruiters across different areas globally is going to help you a lot. And it sounds intimidating, but this is resume, cover letter, portfolio, all the things that you've heard several times before, but having that ready to go when that package is ready for a good job, it's going to help you a ton. So those are my areas of advice as well.
And to kind of piggyback on the idea of being ready for that opportunity when it comes, that opportunity will not necessarily come from the vector that you think it's going to come from. For example, I entered the games industry as a baby lawyer. I was 24 years old. I had been a lawyer for less than a year. And one of my best friends on the planet, his name is Ryan McLaffy Taffy Caps. He's a Twitch partner. He posted on Facebook. That's still around, by the way, unfortunately. He posted on Facebook and said, hey, my Miami lawyer's really expensive. Who knows any good lawyers that know intellectual property law? Something like that. And I had not talked to Ryan in like 10 years. I met him when I was 14 working the Richmond Shakespeare Festival. He just connected with me on Facebook. And everyone tagged me. And he said, Noah's like 12. What are you talking about? He can't possibly be a lawyer. But I brought him in. He brought me into the industry. And from there, I met people and was able to find jobs and connect. I didn't start at Pre-Mac Rogers. I came from other positions. I worked at other law firms. I worked with other people. And I just kind of treated everyone around me with the respect that I want to receive. And if you put good energy into the world, it's not going to come back immediately, but it will come back at some point, because your first impression is always the most important one. So be open for those opportunities when they come, because they're not necessarily going to come from the direction you're looking. They might come from like over here, and you have to say, oh God, here's how we go into this now.
Yeah, and I think that looking at that variety, it's also really important to recognize that in the industry there are so many other needs rather than just artists, engineers, designers, stuff like that. we have needs for accountants, business people, CEOs, administrators, project managers, lawyers, so there are so many routes that you can take to get into the industry that aren't obvious. So keeping your eyes open for those routes, building skills that, you feel interest you, and that, you feel like you could actually use to get into the industry are essential to being ready to take advantage of those opportunities when they come up.
To kind of piggyback on that too, who in the audience, by show of hands, is a game developer? All right, cool. Who here is a streamer? Who here is an artist? Fantastic. Who here is none of those things but still works in the games industry? Great. See, there's other things that we're not even thinking about. So there's a lot of things that you can get into.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of what you were saying, and how there's a lot of things that you can do throughout the current jobs that you have, even if they aren't in the game industry, and you can write them down. So I come from just streaming. I've been doing it for 9 years, and I would write down, well, I've learned management. I've learned how to put out fires. I've learned how to be a public representation. I can talk to people. I can work things out on a whim. And then whenever I did a lot of networking, I had encountered these people over at Wounded Warrior Project who met me at TwitchCon 2 years ago. And then this last year, they hit me up and they were like, hey, we have this position. There's going to be a lot of people applying, but we also think you should really apply. So I did, and I fought my way through with the things that I had learned from streaming. No degree. My degree was going to be a doctor. It's very different. So the fact that I came from basically nothing to get the job that I have within the industry is just from the things that you learn. It's like a tech degree in a way, but nobody's teaching you. You teach yourself. And that's also a very good thing to have. So make sure you write those things down and put them on your resume as well.
Maybe it would be beneficial to just go down the line up here and talk a little bit about each of our backgrounds. Yeah. And I don't know if any of us really have a traditional background that kind of led straight into gaming.
Mm-hmm. I was a theater kid.
Yeah, my undergraduate degree is in geology. I studied hydrogeology and crystallography, and then decided to go to law school because I thought it was fascinating. When I came out of law school, I really sat down and went, what do I want to do with this? And I went, I want to represent creative people and help them make cool things. And all of the organizational skills, all the skills that I developed as a scientist, all the way through undergrad, just were essential in helping me to establish my own practice, and then to lay the foundation that I needed to do what I do now and to apply the legal skills that I have to the video game industry. And yeah.
I guess that's similar in a way. So I went to school to be a doctor, a pediatrician to be specific, and then I got married and lost my scholarship because I guess married people can't have scholarships. So did that, and then I went instead into 911 dispatching because I still wanted to gather that expert matter within the subject that I wanted to go back to school for, but it allowed me to then learn how to handle situations on the fly that were very emergency. And I think that whenever I finally found streaming, and there's sometimes crisis in chat. Like there's people that come to you with their problems. You're not their therapist. Please make sure they're aware of that. However, it allows you to handle those situations too. And so that's where I kind of garnered that expertise. And then I just carried it on even more so. So I still stream, but I also am now working for a nonprofit.
So for me, same thing, very not normal game dev background. I started actually at 18, I started apprenticing as a tattoo artist and a piercer. And I was just doing music on the side and things like that. And I was going to school for business management and marketing with a minor in psychology. So completely unrelated. I didn't go to school for programming, which that's what I am. And just kind of to piggyback off what Noah said earlier about Facebook. So basically I was just doing music on the side and, working on my apprenticeship. And a friend had reached out, I was doing kind of like a little video game show prior to Twitch. And so one of the hosts was like, hey, don't you do music? And I was like, yeah, sometimes. And he's like, well, I have like a friend who's looking for like a composer. Do you want to try? And I was like, yeah, actually. And then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because currently I have an apprenticeship with tattooing, but also I'm going to college. So I dropped out. Needless to say, I dropped out and I've been in the industry since, so.
So I started out as a dog groomer, actually. Prior
Nice.
To, yeah, dog groomer. I still do dog training, actually, but that's kind of on the side. And then I went back to art school, and while I was there, I met a lot of different people, obviously, like networking-wise, including a friend who started streaming, and she kind of encouraged me to stream, and so I started doing that full-time, and then fast forward to however many, actually one of Noah's clients, which is actually how I met Noah, because fast forward 10 years later, we're roommates, adult roommates. We're like a roommate family. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. And she's still streaming. Her partner streams full time, and I've just gotten involved a lot in the streaming community, gaming communities. But I also played games growing up. So I've always been passionate about it, and then I've found a way to merge that art into it and really kind of target artists who want to work in gaming specifically. Yeah.
I was a chef for 10 years, ran and managed restaurants, and once I figured out I need to get out, I realized that you have to find ways to transfer your skills. I know this, so it applies to this. So eventually went to Full Sail, got my degree, got out, and essentially went into trying to throw parties for Just Dance. And I had to prove to Yubi, I know what I'm doing, but I can't get you to understand it. So I essentially said, hey, your game's coming out at this time. I built you a plan. What do you think? And I actually use that same tactic today. I did it for Bungie before I even applied. So it's like, I need to understand if you are on the same wavelength about how I see this potential. So from there, it led to other jobs. My first agency job was in New York. I sent them a cold email saying, I know how to do this, this, and this. Does that make sense? Call me back at 7 o'clock, and the rest is history. So I have found that being able to just deconstruct the skill set and say, I think this works, and I can apply it here, adjust the resume, adjust the cover letter, and just talk to people, that has been a phenomenal way to engage. So ever since I got out of the hospitality industry, I still use food as a way to talk to people, and I use chef because it's just easier than remembering a ton of Andes. But I find that being able to use that skill set has been incredibly phenomenal, and even as I want to progress my career now, I think about, even as I want to progress the career now, I think about how what I know is going to apply to the future, which we'll talk about that later, because my job didn't exist. Actually, the concept of my job didn't exist 11 years ago. Yeah. And the position that I have now didn't exist 2 years ago at Bungie. So when we're thinking about what doesn't exist yet and being able to apply that skill, especially to the streamers in the room, I'm very excited to talk about that as well.
Yeah, and whoa, that mic got a lot louder.
Yeah, sound guy's here.
That was this guy. Sound guy, woo! Hey! All right, this mic is now out here. That's much more comfortable. And like I said, I was a theater kid. I went to Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. Yeah. That's right, all over the place, Hokie Nation. And so I went to Virginia Tech and got 2 degrees, one in political science and one in theater. I went to law school because I got out of undergrad in 3 years and didn't know what to do with my life. I was like, I'll just keep going to school. And then I didn't realize I wanted to be a lawyer until I had already passed the bar. So I worked for an intellectual property boutique while I was acting on the side, got cast in a few films and a few small TV series. You might have heard of Turn Washington Spies on AMC. That was fun. And then, like I said, Ryan McLaffy Taffy Caps said, hey, I need a lawyer, and the rest is history. In my time here, I've not only worked as a lawyer, I've worked as a manager, as an agent. I've worked as, I'm a professional GM for a tabletop series called Forgotten Paths. You should download it right now. That's on the bingo card, by the way. And so there's a lot of different vectors into the industry. You look up here and you see, every person you look, they are that job, they clearly have that experience. But sometimes we said, hey, there's a gap. And we see that gap, and maybe we can fill that gap, or there's going to be a problem down the road. The gap that I identified early on in 2015, which is now for the most part solved, is that a lot of streamers were using music unlicensed in the background of their streams. And so I said, you know what? I can fix that. Let me be the best music lawyer in the world so that when someone gets nuked off the face of the planet and gets banned on Twitch because of it, I can post a tweet and go viral for it. And that's how I got all my clients. Rip Twitter. And so that's kind of how that kind of rolls. In terms of, before we move into some practical suggestions for, you're looking for employment, what are the different types of employment in the games industry? Do we have anybody else that wants to chime in on some basic foundational get out and do it advice? No worries if not.
I guess I would say maybe, you know, for instance, you know, portfolios. Portfolios are very, very important because a lot of the time, you know, in the industry, you either need some kind of degree of some sort or experience, and sometimes it's a little bit of both. But, you know, what I've learned is that a lot of people are interested in game development, get into it, and then realize it's not for them, you know, and that's okay. So what I would say, just some general basic advice, just really quick, work on stuff. Just work on stuff. If you know, if you have like 2 hours of your time, program a little thing, you know, or draw, you know, do something like that, you know, and then just kind of build from there, and then you can take that sort of thing, build onto it, then realize if gaming is, you know, in the games industry is for you, and you know, and things like that. So.
To layer on top of that real quick, a lot of people are going to ask you to do free work, especially all of you artists out there. Don't do it. They're always like, oh, it's good networking. We're going to help connect you with people and give you a good experience. Never turns into anything. It just wastes your time. You'd be much better spent working on your own stuff, getting your own portfolio, you know, beautiful and polished, so that when someone in the when someone in the industry sees it, they see your skill, rather than spinning your wheels on free projects. And you don't want to become, you know, known for giving away your time. It's not worth it.
Well, what about art tests? Game companies ask you to do that all the time.
That still happens?
Hey, do this art for free, and I promise you, it'll definitely lead to consideration for more work.
That's so triggering to me. Like, oh, I'm sorry,
I felt the cringe from this side.
Because realistically, y'all, here's the thing. If somebody says, hey, you know, we're working on this project, it's unpaid, but, you know, we would really love it if you did some art for us or something like that. Your time is valuable, and you want to be paid for it. And so even if it's a nominal amount, even if it's an introductory amount, getting paid something, people that respect your time will offer to pay something. And that is incredibly important. And it's more than just, hey, you know, if you do this, I'll introduce you to this person, because then you're being introduced as the person who does free work. You don't get a job like that. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's great advice.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on go out and do it advice you had said. It's a dangerous statement, but a lot of job descriptions are incorrect, inaccurate. And when you're looking at it, just be real. Just be real with the piece of paper in front of you, or the page in front of you, and say, what do you actually need me to do?
Yeah.
4 of these bullet points actually make sense. I need you to know this, this, and this. Everything else is fluff and bullshit. And I really feel like it's important to start looking at the breakdown about what it all means. You're going to start to see roles, say content management or content development, project management, right? Really broad terms. If you have the opportunity to speak to that recruiter or that job or the hiring manager and say, hey, could you tell me what that actually means? What does that actually translate to? You can talk yourself out of a job real quick looking at that long list of stuff that you're supposed to have and all these degrees that they want you to have. Listen, a lot of it is not all that true. And I don't want you to get into a position where you see a job and say, well, that's not for me. And you could be one step away from that role that makes sense because of your skill set. So when you look at those areas, take those chunks out, understand what you do, understand what you know, and then be honest about what you don't know. You'll find that more than enough folks who are like, I really feel like this skill set is what I need. I can teach you the rest. It's a philosophy that we had in hospitality where if you can work the line, you can probably handle these other pieces if I did to give you a little bit of training. Mm-hmm. And the same logic applies here. And I recognize, especially in the AA indie space, where it's like, I need someone who can handle these particular skill sets, and I can teach you the rest really fast. I've had that conversation so many times. Yeah. So it feels like don't talk yourself out of a job because the description is overproduced or way too many words.
Or ChatGPT wrote it.
Let's not. Can we not today? Not today. Not today. Okay. Not today. No. But I feel like if you start looking it in, deconstruct the job and find yourself some skills there, and I think that's going to help out. Last bit I wanted to say.
No, it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Also to add on to that, just really quick, but
Please.
yeah, just apply to stuff. Like, I think that as general advice, like, you don't lose anything if you don't get a response back, but a lot of the art directors, like producers, people I've interviewed who are working in the gaming industry, and talking to people, they're like, I wasn't qualified for this, but I applied and I still got the job.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree that we talk ourselves out of that, like, you know, we feel so intimidated looking at that list, you know?
It's partially because in our industry, because there are not a ton of people in it, it's not the biggest industry on the planet, a lot of jobs end up form-fitting back to the person that's hired for them. And so there's an identified scope, and you want to be able to find somebody that fills that scope. As someone who's done hiring in this industry, you want to find the perfect candidate. You're never going to find the perfect candidate. You're going to find the people that are the best for the job. And the job might adapt to that person's skills. And one skill that that person might not have is interviewing, by the way, which is something we should talk about. Interviewing is a skill that not everybody has. I know that Sam and I have a mutual friend who is phenomenal for a lot of different jobs, but currently isn't getting certain jobs because they make the final round, but their interviews, they're just not nailing them for some reason. And so one thing that I will say is if you're one of those people that gets really anxious about interviews, and obviously a little bit of stage fright's fine, but when I say like the idea of doing an interview gives you like an existential dread. Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Fantastic. And I know that people out there that are not nodding, that are because they're getting the dread about nodding. And if that is a concern for you, one of the best pieces of advice that I got from Go Hokies, Greg Justice, when I was learning interviewing from him, he's a professor there, he's phenomenal. He said, practice interviewing. You can practice. And especially, ironically, with ChatGPT, you can come up with questions to have somebody else ask you that aren't just coming directly from your head. And you can talk to a mirror, talk to a friend, hop on a Discord call with a friend and say, hey, how do I look? Because most of your interviews will not be in person anymore. They will be over a screen. Practicing your interviewing skills is going to make such a huge difference in whether or not you're getting that job or not.
I don't remember the last in-person interview I had.
I do.
So this just washed over me. I've been digital. It's been like 6 years.
Yeah.
It's all been online. Sorry, is that the next topic, by the way, interviews?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is now.
I'm going to give one piece of advice on interviews, and then I guess we'll go down it. Interview the interviewer. This is not a one-way street. It is very important to make sure they know, hey, you need me. All right, you guys are hiring, you guys are paying, and it actually puts you in a position of, it's strange to say a position of power, but it does put you in a position of confidence to say, what is going on at the company? What is value to you? What are the things that I'm going to be challenged with? Suddenly, the back and forth becomes a dialogue, and the interview does seem to flow a little bit better. So when you start feeling like, hey, no, I don't need this job is the mentality you should have, even though you do need this damn job. But the mentality you should have is this going to be a place that shows my particular skill set and brings value to my life? If you're able to bring that energy to the interview, you're going to find that back and forth to be a little bit more comfortable as you start to get your interview skills up. And especially when it's digital, you've got notes there, you've got lots of tools that you don't normally have one-on-one. Use that to your advantage. I got 4 monitors and I got everything I need. So yeah, that's my advice on interviewing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Go ahead.
thank you. And as a lawyer in private practice, which Noah and I both are, we are constantly interviewing and being interviewed by prospective clients. It's a weekly, sometimes daily thing where we spend a half an hour getting to know someone, an hour getting to know someone, and deciding whether or not we want to work with this person. And I remember one of the most empowering things for me years ago was when I first finished a consultation and went, I don't want to work with that person and I'm not going to offer them my services.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation. I'm glad I got to know them, but I don't need them and I'm not the right person for them. And so I always now go into consultations with a little bit of that sort of mindset of going, all right, this is an interview. I'm getting to know you, you're getting to know me. I've got skills to offer, you've got needs. Let's see if they mash up. If they don't, I'm going to refer you somewhere else. And just having that flexibility and that confidence is very comforting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're bouncing around or.
Yeah, bounce.
Kind of actually building off of that too, especially if you're just starting out. This is something that I talk to students about a lot. If you're like, yeah, but how do I know what questions to ask, you know? I found that, and I'm sure we'll get to networking at some point, but like research and use LinkedIn, stalk respectfully, not like actually.
Yeah, don't actually stalk.
Yes. Figure out who are the people who work in this position that you really want to do. You know what I mean? Like, who are the people who are doing it? You'd be amazed reaching out, just cold reaching out on LinkedIn, like how many people, especially, they're all human beings too, right? Like they want to talk, you know, they're interested. People love talking about themselves. So be like, I'd love to just ask some questions, and one of the things you should ask if you do have an opportunity, because again, like I promise you, people will respond if you reach out and you're like, hey, you're doing exactly what I want to do. I really want to get, how did you get there? What's your journey? Like, what was your journey into the industry? But also ask, like, what kind of questions were you asked in your interview? Like, what kind of questions would you maybe ask someone else? What skills do you think you got hired for? And that can really be a great insight, especially if you're like, I'm not really quite sure, you know, what questions to practice in that interview, because the practice is important. But you can start to compile a list of like, wow, these are all different things, different perspectives from people from different companies that are doing what I want to do, you know, have experienced, and that's what they think I should focus on, and that can kind of help direct you a little bit, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming like you're herding cats, like I've got so many skills, I can learn this, and I can learn this, and you know, I shouldn't be doing this because, you know, my time, but then I need to build my skill over here. You know, it can get overwhelming, but talking to people, it can build your network, but it also helps you to get some insight, and it also search out like junior artists too. I think people always go for like the top tier, like, oh my God, they're never gonna message me back, you know what I mean? Like, because, oops, sorry. But like, there's tons of, you know, junior artists or junior engineers, developers, and like, they're also like excited, probably, right, about getting their positions like fairly recently, and that's really fresh for them because the industry is evolving so quickly. Like, all of our experiences are obviously going to be different from you all's. If you're starting to journey into the industry, the paths aren't quite the same, right? So talking to people who did recently get hired, you see someone pop up on LinkedIn because you're following Wizards of the Coast, and this, you know, like junior artist is like, I just got a job, I'm now a junior artist, blah, 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 or I'm doing, you know, this 3D work. Reach out to them and just kind of shoot them a message, be like, hey, congrats on your job, I'd love to talk to you, and that can also tie into that practice for the interview because it gives you that insight and helps you develop your network.
One of the things that I will add as well is if you think the interview starts when you open Zoom or Google Meet or Discord or whatever, or if you think the interview starts when you sit down in the interview room, you have started your interview way too late. Your interview starts with every single person you interact with. One of the famous examples I got back when I was an undergrad was the interview starts when you get to the parking garage with the parking attendant, because like in all likelihood, that person works for the organization and they're gonna get asked how you treated them. Your interview starts here at MAGFest. Your interview starts with your initial conversation with someone who works in a role that you want to be in. And it's not like, hey, I need to be sycophantic and, you know, say you're the best thing in the world, but it's approaching everything as a polite conversation or an enthusiastic conversation, but treating people with respect, because every single person deserves your respect for whatever reason until they show you otherwise. And so if you're trying to get a job in an organization, you need to treat every single person in that organization as though they're the person that can hire or fire you. So I say that mainly because that stuck with me for years. To kind of go on what Andy was saying earlier as well, by the way, the last time we had an in-person interview, I think my last in-person interview was with this job.
But we did 2 remote interviews.
Yeah, they talked to me like 4 times. It was awesome. And then the last people I interviewed are actually in the front row, so we hired them. So. So just a real quick part of, Kat, you had a really good thing you wanted to talk about, and I'm blanking on it. It was after interviews.
Networking.
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 Thank you.
Just on the spot.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the importance of networking, and that kind of plays into what we were just talking about. We got about 4 minutes before we open up to questions.
Networking is key.
Yep.
Networking is key, you know. The other thing too is that, you know, to also piggyback off the, you know, be kind to everybody, be respectful. The reality is I don't know any of you people. Maybe some of you know me, cool, but some of you, you know, and vice versa. But, you know, maybe the next person in this audience is gonna be hired by me, for all I know, you know. And so networking is key, you know. So come up, come talk to us, just be polite, be cool, you know, and it will take you a long way, because if you network and leave a good impression or an impactful one to somebody, they will remember you. I still remember people that have helped me in the industry from like way back 10 years ago when I first started, you know. So networking is, like I said, just hang out with people, just be polite, and you know, don't be scared to share the socials, especially if you're growing a connection with somebody, or like, you know, don't be afraid to say like, hey, I know we just met, like, but I want to network with you, or you know, I have a question for you, or you know, something like that. Like, never be shy, because 90% of the time, most people, just like Kat and everybody else has been saying, people want to talk to other people. You know, people want, especially if they're passionate about the industry, as all of us are here today. You know, so just talk, just network.
Indeed.
That was actually a really good point of make sure you're nice to people and genuinely kind to them as well, because they will remember that so far down the road. I had an opportunity a few months ago to be flown out to Ghent for Baldur's Gate release. I had no idea, didn't know anybody. But because one person pitched for me because they remembered me from years ago and that I do RPG stuff, they were like, Sam's a good one. And it was one of the best experiences, and I had no idea, and that like really was touching. So that's something that resonates highly with me as well. So just be good people. It's not hard, I promise.
Also, anyway, we're good. Also, on the networking side, I feel like I'm kind of saying, all right, everyone, we can also take a breath and relax a little bit, which is, you know, it's important to network as much as you possibly can, but you don't necessarily have to milk every networking opportunity for as much as you can possibly get out of it. You know, don't feel like you're missing out if you have to leave early. Don't feel like you miss out if you're not going to be there for one. It's so important to just put in the effort, be seen, be friendly, you know, be communicative, but also take care of yourself, and then don't stress about if that one networking event went as, or that one networking interaction went as best as it possibly could have. So long as you're respectful, so long as you're kind, so long as you have something of a good conversation, you can walk away knowing that you've left a good impression, and that you're going to be able to then run into that person again, or different people again at another event, and then just continue that networking trend. Networking is a never-ending part of being in the industry.
And one of the things that I'll kind of piggyback on that with a little bit is, when you do end the conversation, when you are networking, you do want to leave in a position where you are, that person is potentially wanting more. You never want to saturate your networking conversation with someone. I'll be very candid. Sometimes I meet people at various conventions and they want to network with me, and I'm so into that. I love talking to people. However, sometimes I'm going to a panel, or I'm talking to a client, and coming up and approaching me and being respectful, saying, hey, I'd love to talk to you, is now a good time? That's really important if there's someone you want to network with. In addition, recognizing, hey, this person is somebody that other people are potentially want to network with as well, or they got to run somewhere. Being respectful and kind of picking up on cues that person's giving you is really important, because it will leave a good impression and show that you know how to talk to people, but not overdo it. You know what I mean? When you're best friends with that person, that's when you can say, hey man, I'm just gonna chill over here. Let's just hang out.
Yeah. A word of advice on networking then. What's going through your minds right now is thinking, I gotta talk to folks, get advice, have these conversations. I would ask you to pivot and just start asking questions. If I were to define networking now, it is leave an impression upon someone else so they have you in their memory, whether it's now or later. So when you consider other professionals and say, I don't really know your job, and I'm curious, how does this work? Allowing them to share their expertise with you is a very fair conversation, and you can leave it at that. I still have those conversations with developers that I will never engage with because we're on two different sides of the fence, but just learning about them by them explaining what do I know is a form of networking. It's me giving an opportunity to myself to learn something a little bit more, and that's it. And that has actually led to better relationships than some of my early networking tactics, is what I'll call it. So being able to say, hey, I don't know how this works. Could you explain it to me? Especially with the mod community, loving those folks right now. It has been really interesting to see them just go, this is what I know, and this is what I've learned. And then they'll ask the same kinds of questions about how the heck does this work in the world of YouTube and Twitch, and especially TikTok. I'll explain. And then that was a conversation. That was a form of networking. So some education is a fair ask about when it comes down to how you want to have those discussions in the networking world. That's what I wanted to give that.
And speaking of asking questions, it's that time. What a great segue, Andy. Yeah. Yeah, it's that time.
You should tell them how
Hold on. So what I'm going to have everybody do, if you have a question, come over here, line up in a nice orderly line. While we would love to have every single person answer every single question, we're probably going to have a couple people hit it. Holy crap, there's a lot of you. I'm so glad we said 20 minutes. So
If you have a question for someone specific,
yeah,
and you don't
what
know
we're
our
going to
names,
do
just
is we're
point
going to
at
make sure
us.
that we answer the question, but don't talk too much. So here you go. First question. Take my mic for the best.
This is why I was first in row.
Moderator, or
so-
room moderator, do you need us to repeat the question?
As long as it's in the mic, we will repeat the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question was, because I know sometimes employers will like to, if you see like a gap in your resume, they'll have like, hey, why is that there? So how should you respond to that?
So the question is, if you see a gap in a resume and employers say, hey, what's that about? How do you respond to that? My joke answer is you can say, that's subject to NDA. I can't talk about it.
The NDA response actually is very effective.
Oh, that's the answer. Okay.
Oh, sorry. No.
I thought you were going to answer after.
Well, sorry. I was going to say, to explain a gap in your resume is to just explain the situation. No one's going to be, what's the word I want to use? Misunderstood to say, I have been looking for a job for this long. The honesty is an important piece, and if you do find yourself in care of another individual, just be very open about why that might happen. Your background check will expose that as well, so it's just best to be open and honest about why that gap exists.
And,
Also,
no, please, sorry, Ken.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing is that I work with students, obviously, so like if, you know, like they get out and they're like, the junior position requires experience, but I have no experience, you know, like how do I, and this goes the same for if there's like, you know, literally a gap in experiences, add your extracurricular stuff that you're doing. So if you are doing game jams or you're involved in communities that are gaming, if like that's stuff to go on the resume, you're still community building, if you're streaming, like any of that stuff, right, is still really legitimate ways to put, you know, things to put on your resume that are worthy.
Excellent. Please.
Yeah, thank you. I had a pretty similar question to that and really appreciate how all of you shared your amazing backgrounds, where you came from hospitality or medicine or different kinds of art or lawyering when you didn't even think you were going to go into gaming. Similar to if you have a gap in your resume, what if you need to go into, like back into dog grooming for a while, but you're trying to get into the gaming industry and your past experience is relevant, but right now you're a dog groomer and employers want to see that you are employed. So what would you recommend about navigating that?
I don't know if anyone else.
So I've got two answers to that question, and I've seen both be successful. You know, I know a number of people in this industry who decided to live hand to mouth while they were looking for a new job in the game industry, to essentially not take that dog grooming job so that they wouldn't have to go in and explain a gap. That's a really hard decision to make. The other is, you know, you go in and you say, be honest, like, it might not be the job that you want, but all of us have to pay our bills, and every single one of us gets that. And so, you know, maybe you love dogs, and so it's an opportunity where you were able to do a job that you enjoyed that was going to pay your bills, and the interviewer shouldn't hold that against you.
Also, to quickly add to that too, Look at the skill set. We were talking about listing skill sets. Look at all the skills that, when you're dog grooming, you're still interfacing with clients, like you're still managing schedules, you're still like, working, basically managing your own time, like you're doing artistic work. So it's like identifying those skill sets you feel would be important to the employer and focusing on those if you're listing it on your resume, that is something that should happen there.
Yes, indeed. Go gaming adjacent if you can. This probably answers a few of the other questions, but gaming adjacent, i.e. not in the industry, but similar skill set. We have, if you read the journal, you'll know that we've lost the ability to work your way up through the mailroom. It's a statement that's made very often. And when you think about it from that perspective, you go, cool, I can't get growth experience from one company, so I got to get it from multiple companies. And therefore, I'm going to do what I can in multiple areas to say, I've got this skill, I've got this skill. It's a Pokemon rap now, I'm in good shape, and I'm able to pull that into this experience for this job. Don't be afraid to move around, because it is the way to do things now. I'm sorry, whatever our parents are going to say about loyalty and working for long periods of time, that is over. Sorry, that's exactly how I feel, no matter who says it. I'm gonna get off this topic, but the idea is keep on trying to get experience in different areas. The dog grooming experience is still valid. Yeah.
And dog grooming is awesome.
Yes.
I used to do dog walking. Yay!
Yeah.
So I am a recent graduate from University of Baltimore. I did like programming, and I was going to do the art track because I'm a writer actually, but I'm not an artist. I'm not a modeler. I'm not very that's not my skill set, and they don't have a writing track. So right now I'm trying to build up my portfolio and do game jams and stuff like that. And what I'm afraid of is pigeonholing myself into programming, because that's what I've been doing at University of Baltimore. But I want to build up my resume for writing, and I guess my question is something along the lines of should I focus more primarily on writing, or is it a good thing to have that diverse skill set of doing the programming and doing the writing and things like that?
Okay. I'm of the perspective that you can be a jack of all trades as long as you are a master of some. And so it is important you have that programming background. I think that's phenomenal. I think focusing on building out your writing skills is also phenomenal, but never hesitate to list every single thing that is in your toolbox, because your toolbox is unique to you, and it's why people want to hire you. So yeah, absolutely, continue listing that programming stuff. Maybe that's your foot in the door so you can cross-department something in a development company. So great question.
Also, just really quick on that too. As I'm an indie game developer, and I run an indie studio, and so I have a lot of skill sets. Just like Noah said, be masterful at one of them, which is programming for me. But I do music composition, I do sound design, I do level design, I do a little bit of writing. Actually, the only thing that I'm not confident in, or that I do, is art. But whoever does art here, I love and respect you, because I don't know how y'all do it. It's magic to me.
Yeah.
But like Noah said, just list everything. It's okay to don't put all of your eggs in the same basket, have a little bit of each. If there's 2 or 3 things you're interested in, work on those 3 things. You don't have to just stick to one thing.
Yeah.
Do multiple things if that's what you want to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
All right. So the cool thing about this panel is that all of you have varied roles, but something Sheena was talking about earlier with the portfolio, what are some of the best ways of formatting and sharing your portfolio, especially for experiences outside of the industry you're trying to enter, for, say, a chef? How do you translate your work in a portfolio for something for game development when you've been a chef?
I'm only going to speak to my discipline, which is considered marketing and biz dev. Yeah. The best way to do so is behave like you're in 2024. Make yourself a video, make yourself a strong email, use the email, the email websites out there. Make it so somebody who quickly needs to be convinced that you understand what you're doing can go there and see it for themselves. That is what I'm going to speak to in my discipline. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the folks who work in different areas here, but that's my recommendation.
I would also say research on LinkedIn, similar people in the roles that you want to be in, and see what they're highlighting. If they have the job, they got it for a reason, and it might be that you can emulate what they did. That's not the be-all and end-all, but it's a great place to start. You always want to put your own unique spin on things, but always check out people that are in your role too.
Hi. This one might be a little specific, but for somebody who is looking to make an industry switch into gaming, who might have a lot of experience in, like me specifically, project management, I've been in it almost a decade, looking to kind of pivot into the gaming industry. And when I'm looking at openings, I'm seeing a lot of the responsibilities, the skills, so up my alley, but in all of the requirements, it's what are your shipped games? And how do you get over that when I have nothing to say and I feel like I'm starting an uphill battle of trying to convince someone that just because I don't have a shipped title or that I haven't actually been in the industry yet that I could be valuable?
Can I tackle that? I'm sorry.
You're perfect for this.
Okay, we're literally hiring PMs right now. Our number one senior PM came from a political background, never shipped a game before. Like I said, a lot of it's bullshit. That's number one. Alrighty? Just being honest. Number two, if you find yourself going, all right, there's the wall, I haven't shipped anything, this is where you kind of skip the line, speak directly to the HR coordinator and say, hi, this is my skill set. Could you please describe what those, just kind of skip the line and speak directly to that individual and talk about whether or not it truly is valuable to have that experience. Because you'll find that the job isn't going to work out in your favor if they really want someone who shipped games, because then the culture will slowly start to demean your background. You don't want to be in that environment. So just be wary of the folks who are saying you need to have this because, well, we won't, that's another panel. But yes, but that is my number one area where I say, believe me when I say there are tons of folks that I've worked with that never shipped a game prior but are killing it right now in the areas we need them to kill it.
Okay, we keep switching back and forth. And it's always a good idea, you know, when you're reading that job posting to see like, okay, try to parse it for what are the actual minimum qualifications and what are they listing in the job listing that they might have said are required but aren't actually required. So, for example, when Noah and I went through our last hiring round and hired these two fine people, a minimum requirement is that they need to be licensed attorneys. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of other things that we put in the job listing of things that we wanted there to be. We even listed them as minimum requirements because we wanted to filter out people who didn't understand what we were looking for or who couldn't communicate, or we wanted to give information about what the role was, stuff like that. And so looking at it and being like, all right, well, translating exactly what it says into how you can fit into that role, and then figuring out, okay, well, if this says I must have a master's degree in something, then it probably needs you to have a master's degree, and if you don't have it, you're not going to get in the door. But if it's saying a shipped game is if you can show that you have equivalent skills, equivalent knowledge.
What they mean is a shipped project, really.
Exactly. You need to be able to show that you can manage. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kat.
Really quick, and we talk about this with artists quite a lot because it's like self-publishing, right? Like you could ship a game, you could go to a game, like maybe, I know it sounds like, oh my God, so much, but like see what your local game jam's doing, publish on itch.io, like even if you make something really small, they're really looking, like if you have all this amazing like management experience and then like they see like, oh, you're maybe working or volunteering at something like MAGFest, you're doing project management for them, you're doing, you're like joining game jams and you're kind of familiar with some of the systems because you've made a little game in a weekend or something, like that's huge, and you can put that on your resume.
And I'll also chime in and say networking really plays into this as well, because if you can find somebody that is in the industry or is in a position that you are kind of like, hey, I met this person, I reached out, I'm applying for this job, can I get you in there? Can you like give me a recommendation, talk to somebody? That always helps, because that is very much in the it's who you know, not necessarily what you know scenario. And a great example of this is that this is my friend Alexis, and you should hire her. So.
Thank you all so much for your time, for speaking today. So my main question is, it's too close. have any of you had any experience with the games industry in relation to East Asian studios, for example, Japanese studios? What is the difference between Western studios and Japanese studios with finding a job in the games industry, if any of you have any experience with that?
I know that I have experience. Am I the only one at the table who has experience working with?
Hey, Ben.
I'm actually not going to say a word. It's way too close.
You should not.
Yes.
They are very forgiving about working with Americans. They understand, they understand that you have not been raised into, Japanese work culture or Chinese work culture. And so what they're looking for is the skills and the dedication. And there are going to be significant differences, and the longer you're with the company, the more you're going to need to learn to fit in with their company culture, just like anywhere. But you certainly shouldn't stop yourself from pursuing a job, at a game studio in Tokyo or something like that, all because you are, primarily raised and born in America and trained in America. So,
Thank you so much.
Acknowledge your shortcomings and do your research.
yeah.
Okay, I kind of have a similar situation to the person before. The person I just went, where I have a degree in business management. I work in information technology, mostly system administrator stuff. And when I've tried to apply for jobs that I see, I'm trying to I don't think I'm doing a very good job of showing them the transferable experience, because I'm not really getting responses from resumes being sent out, and not really getting attention from the people that I want to be paying attention to me on LinkedIn. They're all looking for IT stuff, and I'm I want to pivot into the games industry doing business stuff.
Have you spoken with a recruiter in the games industry yet? Or had
Not
anyone
recently,
review
but
your-
I feel like that's a good step from what y'all have said here.
It's probably
so.
the next thing for you to do, because if you're not being able to translate it, they're going to be able to help you translate it.
Yeah, or
Okay.
or a resume editor or something like that, or even Joe that you drink coffee with at Starbucks on Tuesdays. Say, hey, can you look at this? That super helps. So,
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
you look like you're eager.
So, I'm in a Discord community that does resume reviews for people that are in LinkedIn and if you want to join that Discord, I can send you a link if you're hey, I'm doing this and I want to do this, if you can look over my resume.
You just became the most popular person at the panel.
We love to see it. We love to see it.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after the panel. But, yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you.
Hi. So my question is, what are your opinions on the University of Digipen, and how hard is it to get a work visa in the States so I can work on the game industry here?
Rapid fire, go.
Okay, Digipen, my wife went there. She graduated 3 years ago, had an excellent time, was able to parlay her degree directly into a games industry job. Loves it, still goes back in artist classes. We live in the Seattle area, so that makes it easy. And they're generally a very good school for learning video games. The downside recently is that they're becoming overcrowded, and their student-to-teacher ratio is becoming very stressed, especially with remote learning. And so just take that into account, that you're not going to get as much personal attention from Digipen as any of us might hope.
Thanks. We have 1 minute, so let's get these next 3 questions on the rapid fire. Let's go.
Okay. So I'm a professional programmer, right? I work at a big tech company, so I'm not allowed to do game jams. I'm not allowed, if I make my own game, I have to get an exception for it. So how do I build a portfolio when I can't even do game jams? And how do I communicate my translatable skills as a developer at a big tech company to
So if your employer is trying to restrict you from working on outside projects, that is illegal. Bless you. Broadly speaking.
I know. Irrelevant. I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah. And well, if they were to fire you for it, then that's actionable.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I guess the answer is talk to a lawyer.
I'd say
legitimately.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say
Talk to a lawyer
build
and
your portfolio.
also work under a pseudonym. Don't let them know. If you
Yeah.
I didn't say that to you though.
Sheena! Awesome. Yeah, but talk to a lawyer. Hey, buddy.
Hello. I guess my question is more Well, I'm a recruiter doing human resources right now, and I'm actually trying to pivot into writing. Like I actually found out recently that I actually writing isn't like storyboarding, writing characters, all that stuff. So I don't have much of a portfolio at the moment. Yeah. Mainly, screenplays and some short stories. Cool. Like that's something presentable to the game industry, because I've noticed on some job boards it doesn't really ask for writers. They ask for more programmers who maybe have some writing experience.
I'll take this one on the rapid fire real quick. So the question is, currently in another industry trying to pivot into writing more, and how you build a portfolio about that people care about. Honestly, put pen to paper, keep on writing, because if you enjoy writing, if that's what you want to do, then clearly that's what you want to do. So keep doing that. Find ways to translate that skill into something actionable in the games industry. For example, one thing that I found is I'm finding a lot of my tabletop writers are getting jobs in the games industry right now. So if you can create rich and unique environments, settings, and characters, then working in tabletop potentially could get you there. So maybe work games adjacent, publish something like that, or just talk to your friends and disseminate some information. Cool.
Okay, so this question is going to be a little bit more dedicated to the programmers here. Right now, so just to preface the question, I'm currently a software engineering major at George Mason University, and I'm kind of currently in a little bit of a rut with just trying to find or trying to make personal projects and just involving programming. I kind of procrastinated, made this thing instead. So
congrats.
That's cool though.
So I was just wondering, what have you guys done to kind of get out of that programming rut, or I guess programmer's block, I guess?
So the way that I program is I naturally just always have programmer's rut constantly. so the thing is that I always try to find things that I like that kind of give me that empowerment or that excitement to do programming kind of thing. So it's if you are trying to make a tower defense game, as an example, just as practice, right? If you get stuck in a rut, play a little bit of Bloons TV. I'm not sponsored by them, but that's a good game. Play something like Bloons, and so you could just so that you can get reminded and inspired that you like that sort of thing, or just and an unfortunate reality too is that sometimes you kind of do have to force yourself a little bit, not forcing yourself to the point of exhaustion or mental instability or anything like that. But sometimes you do kind of have to give yourself a little bit of a push to find your goal, because ultimately you're responsible for your own projects. Ultimately, you are responsible for your own goals, and also set deadlines for yourself. Yeah. If you're hey, I want to get this level, I need to program this level in with this monster, I want to get this done by, we'll say, in a month, right? So you kind of also have to set those types of goals for yourself to keep yourself on track for motivation, so that you don't get stuck in those ruts.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could quickly, just last thing, 30 seconds, count. Right now, there are about 15 to 20 developers downstairs in the main atrium. They have been probably 3 to 5 of them who are solo devs. 6 of them have all told me they're still looking for help to get their projects off the ground, and most of them aren't even aware of the resources that are out there. The fact that you're here, you've done about 50% of the work showing up. Now this is time to apply a lot of the advice you've provided and be able to speak to folks, ask if they have projects, ask if there's ways you can dip your toe in. That's what you're looking for now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys.